Ravi lived in a small but clean apartment on a space station called Delta Nest. The station floated near the edge of Sector 9, a peaceful place known for its strange mix of species. Delta Nest was quiet, with smooth metal walls, soft lights, and long hallways that echoed when someone walked. Ravi liked the calm. He worked as a repair tech during the day and spent his nights reading old Earth novels or watching classic space films. Life was simple, but not cheap. Rent on Delta Nest had gone up again, and Ravi could no longer afford to live alone. After a long week of searching, he finally found a post on the local network. It was short, just a message that said, "Seeking quiet space, will not disturb. Rent ready." Ravi thought it was perfect. No noise, no drama, just a roommate to help share the cost. He replied quickly and gave his address. He didn't ask for much. He just hoped they were clean and respectful. He expected another human. That's what most people on Delta Nest preferred. 2 days later, his doorbell rang. When Ravi opened the door, he froze. It was not a human. A tall figure stood in front of him. Pale skin like soft stone, long fingers, silver eyes with no pupils, and a smooth face with no clear mouth. She wore a dark robe and carried only one bag. Her head tilted slightly, studying him. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft, like wind moving through trees. "My name is Thierry. May I come in?" Ravi blinked. He had seen Marani before, but only from far away. They were quiet, private, and rarely shared space with humans. He had never met one this close. He stepped aside. "Yeah, of course, come in." Thierry moved with slow, careful steps. She looked around the apartment, then sat down on the small bench near the kitchen. She did not say much. Ravi offered her some water, but she just shook her head gently. They spoke only a little that evening. Thierry said she would stay out of the way. She said she did not need much. She only asked that her room stay dim and that she be allowed to use the bathroom during early morning hours. Ravi agreed. The first few days were quiet. Thierry did not talk much. She kept her room door closed. Sometimes Ravi heard soft sounds, like humming or water moving, but nothing loud. She never cooked, and she never asked for anything. Ravi almost forgot she was there. But slowly, small things began to change. It started with the shampoo. Ravi always placed it on the left side of the shower shelf. One morning, he found it on the right. He frowned and moved it back. The next day, the towel he hung was slightly damp, even though he had not used it. Then one evening, he walked into the bathroom and found a faint scent in the air. Not a bad smell. It was clean and soft, like rain, mixed with something sweet. The mirror had a light fog, but he had not used the shower that day. He paused and looked around. Everything was in place, but something felt different. He didn't want to accuse anyone. Maybe he had just forgotten. Maybe he had used the towel and didn't remember. Still, it happened again. One morning, he woke up early to fix a panel at work. As he walked to the bathroom, he noticed steam slipping under the door. He froze. He had not used the shower. He had not even turned it on. He knocked once, gently. No answer. He slowly opened the door. Inside, the room was filled with steam. The tiles were wet. The mirror was covered with mist. And there, standing near the shower with her robe still on, was Thierry. Her eyes met his. She was not surprised. She did not move quickly or hide. She simply stepped past him, leaving a trail of quiet footsteps on the floor. Ravi stood in the doorway, confused. He wanted to ask something. He wanted to understand, but he said nothing. He just closed the door and stood in the hallway for a moment. That evening, he wrote a message on the shared screen near the kitchen. "Is everything okay? I think I saw you in the bathroom. You can tell me if something's wrong." The screen stayed silent for a while. Then a message appeared. "Water reveals truth." Ravi stared at the words. They made no sense. What truth did water show? He wanted to ask more, but he didn't know how. Thierry was not like other people. She did not talk, unless she had to. She moved like someone carrying a secret, and her silence was not cold. It felt like a kind of peace that humans did not understand. That night, Ravi sat in his room, thinking, why would a Marani use a human shower? Did her kind even bathe the same way? Was there something in the water that she needed? The next day, he walked past her in the hallway. She nodded at him. For the first time, he nodded back. They still did not speak, but something had changed. There was a quiet understanding now, like the start of a story not yet told. Ravi began to watch more carefully, not with fear, but with curiosity. Something about this roommate was different, not just because she was an alien, not just because she used his shower. There was something else, something waiting beneath the surface, and Ravi felt, somehow, that the water was only the beginning. Ravi began to notice things more clearly now. It started with simple details. The smell in the bathroom was no longer the same. It was softer than before, almost like fresh air after a light rain. It stayed in the air even hours after someone had used the shower. It was not his shampoo. It was not the soap he used. Yet the scent was always there. He tried not to think too much. Maybe Thierry had her own products. Maybe she used something natural. Still, he found it strange. She never brought bottles with her. She never carried a towel into the bathroom. Everything she needed seemed to be already there. Yet Ravi never saw her bring anything in or out. One morning, Ravi stepped into the bathroom and noticed his shampoo bottle had moved again. This time it was upside down, resting on the edge of the tub. His towel was slightly damp again. The mirror was clean, as if someone had wiped it with care. He reached out and touched the surface. It was cool, but it felt different, as if something had passed over it not long ago. He opened the cabinet. Nothing had changed inside. Everything was in place. Still, a question sat in his mind like a small weight. Why was she using his things without asking? Ravi thought about speaking to her directly. But every time he saw Thierry, she was quiet and calm. She gave him space. She never made noise, never got in the way. She was not rude or careless. Everything she did seemed thoughtful, even careful. Maybe there was a reason. One evening, Ravi returned from work earlier than usual. He had finished his repair shift quickly and walked home through the station's quiet halls. The lights along, the ceiling flickered gently, and the usual buzz of machines filled the background. When he reached the apartment door, he heard something faint inside, a soft sound, like running water. He stepped inside and placed his bag down. The water sound was coming from the bathroom. He walked closer, not to spy, but to understand. Steam slipped under the door again. His hand moved to the knob. He paused, but then, before he could knock, the door opened. Thierry stepped out. Her robe was loose at the neck, but still covered her fully. Her skin had small droplets of water, but no towel was in sight. She looked at him, her silver eyes calm. She did not look embarrassed. She did not explain. Instead, she simply said, "Your water is clean, safer than mine." Ravi stood still. "Safer?" he asked. Thierry nodded. "Delta water is filtered, pure." "Mine is not. It carries damage." She walked past him and entered her room. Closing the door behind her. Ravi stood in the hallway, unsure what to think. He had never considered water to be a serious matter. It was just water, clean, warm, useful. But to Thierry, it meant something more. That night, he sat on his bed and opened his tablet. He searched the interspecies network and typed a simple word. Marani. Many results came up. He opened a few documents and news files. Most of them said the same thing. The Marani were a quiet, secretive species. They did not live in groups. They preferred stillness. Their home planet, Miraphor, had heavy mineral lakes and dark skies. Marani bodies were soft and sensitive to many things. They rarely shared their ways with others, and most importantly, they followed special water rituals used for healing, for memory, and sometimes for something deeper. One entry caught Ravi's eye. Marani do not show their true form unless in safe water. Clean water reveals more than skin. It reveals story. He sat back and stared at the screen. So that was what she meant. Water reveals truth. It was not just a sentence. It was a part of her life, a part of her world. The next morning, Ravi left a note on the console. You can use the shower whenever you want. I don't mind. I understand now, at least a little. When he returned from work, the note was gone. There was no reply, but he felt something had changed. Terry no longer waited for early morning. She began to use the shower during the day. Sometimes he heard the water running in the evening too. She was still quiet, still respectful, but she no longer hid her steps. And once, when Ravi passed her in the hallway, she paused and said, "Thank you." He smiled and nodded. No problem. But deep inside, his curiosity was growing stronger. What did she really look like in that water? What did she mean when she said it showed her story? He did not want to invade her privacy. He did not want to break the silent trust between them. But his human mind kept asking questions. One evening, he sat by the window, looking out at the stars. Delta Nest spun slowly, and the view was filled with distant lights behind him. The bathroom door opened. Terry walked past, her eyes glowing faintly. Not with light, but with a kind of presence, a deep calm, a quiet strength. Ravi watched her go, and something in his heart whispered that this roommate agreement was becoming more than just shared. It was turning into a doorway, not just into another person's world, but into a mystery only water could explain. Ravi woke early the next day. His mind was still full of questions from the night before. The more he thought about Terry's words, the more he wanted to know what they truly meant. He did not want to invade her privacy, but something inside him whispered that she was trying to share something in her own quiet way. The bathroom was empty when he entered. Everything looked normal, but the air felt different. It was slightly warmer, and the faint scent of fresh rain still hung in the room. The tiles on the floor looked shinier, almost as if they had been touched by soft light. His towel was untouched, this time folded neatly on the side. The shampoo bottle stood in the middle of the shelf. He stepped closer to the mirror and noticed something strange. There were faint patterns on the glass, like fingerprints, but longer and more graceful. They seemed to form a shape, but it faded quickly as the mirror cooled. He reached out and touched the spot. It was real. Later that day, while walking through the lower halls of Delta Nest, Ravi stopped at the central library pod. It was a small, round room with floating screens and knowledge files from dozens of planets. He sat in one of the quiet booths and typed in a deeper search about the Marani. This time, he used a secure research channel and opened a file marked as Cultural Studies. The file spoke of a tradition among the Marani. It said that they believed water was a mirror of the soul. Not every kind of water, only clean, pure water from certain sources. On their home planet, such water was rare, hidden in secret caves or mountain springs. These places were sacred. Only close family or bonded partners were allowed to see each other in such water. The clean water brought out glowing lines on the Marani's skin. The lines were not tattoos or marks. They were living memory threads. Each line held a moment, a thought, or an emotion. When they stood in clean water, their bodies revealed their past like a map. Ravi sat still, reading slowly. He began to understand. Terry had come to him because she could not find such water on the station. And for some reason, his bathroom water was clean enough. Maybe it was the age of the filters. Maybe it was luck. But more than that, she trusted him. She had chosen to show him a part of herself that her kind normally kept hidden. Ravi closed the file and leaned back in the chair. The walls of the booth glowed soft blue, keeping the light gentle around him. He thought back to the day he saw her standing in the steam. She had not panicked. She had not turned away. She had simply said, "You saw it." You may ask, at the time, he had not understood what she meant, but now he did. She had offered him a chance to know her, a chance to ask not just with words, but with respect. That evening, Ravi returned home early again. He cooked a simple meal and placed a second bowl on the table. He had never done that before. Terry always ate in her room, or not at all. To his surprise, she stepped out just as he finished placing the bowl down. She looked at the table, then at him. "Is it for me?" she asked. Ravi smiled. "Yes, if you want." She sat down slowly. She took the spoon in her hand and studied the food. It smells warm, she said. They ate in silence for a while. Then Ravi cleared his throat. Tiri, he said gently. That day I walked in, I saw something. She did not look surprised. No, she replied. I didn't mean to, he said. I know that too, she said. He paused, then asked, why did you let me see? Tiri looked down at her bowl. Her hands were still, her voice calm. Because you let me use your water, without asking for anything, without fear. She touched her fingers together. Clean water is rare for my kind. Without it, our memory threads fade. We become dull inside. I was beginning to forget things, small things, faces, sounds, feelings. She looked up at him now. Your water helped me remember. Ravi sat still. He felt a strange weight in his chest. Not fear, not sadness, something else. Like the quiet before something important. I didn't know it meant that much, he said. Now you do. She replied. Ravi looked at her more closely. For the first time, he noticed the light beneath her skin. It was not strong. Just a faint shimmer like light passing through clear water. Tiri, he asked, can I ask what you remembered? She smiled, a small, quiet smile. I remembered a song. My mother's voice. She sang to me in the morning when the sky turned blue. I had not heard it in many years. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. I remembered how safe I felt in her arms. Your water gave that feeling back. Ravi nodded. He felt his throat tighten. He had never thought a simple shower could carry so much meaning. From that night on, their silence changed. It was no longer empty. It was full of quiet respect. They still lived their own lives, but something invisible now connected them. Not words, not rules, but trust. Ravi woke up to the soft hum of the station's morning lights. Outside the window, stars shone like silver dust scattered across black velvet. Another quiet day on Delta Nest had begun. He stretched, got out of bed, and walked to the kitchen. As he poured water into his cup, he noticed something unusual. The bathroom door was open, and steam flowed gently out into the hallway. This had never happened before. Tiri always kept the door shut, always. She used the shower in silence and left no sign behind except for the clean scent and a few drops. On the floor. Today was different. Ravi felt unsure, but something pulled him forward. He placed his cup on the table and walked to the bathroom. The light inside was soft, almost like moonlight. The walls shimmered slightly, and the air felt warm. The steam smelled fresh, almost sweet. Inside, the sound of water had stopped. He pushed the door open slowly. Tiri stood near the far wall, her back facing him. She was fully covered in her usual robe, but her skin shimmered. A soft glow came from beneath the surface. Thin, glowing lines danced gently across her arms and neck, moving like water under moonlight. She did not move or hide. She turned her head slightly and said, you may stay, if you wish. You saw it once. You may see it again. Ravi froze at first, unsure what to say. Then he stepped in, careful and respectful. The mirror was foggy, but through the mist, something beautiful revealed itself. Tiri's glowing lines were not random. They formed shapes. Circles, waves, puffs like rivers. Each one moved slowly, pulsing with soft color. Some lines were gold, others blue, and a few faded into silver. They changed and shifted, like they were alive. Ravi whispered, are these your memories? Tiri nodded. Yes. Each line is a thread from the past. Some are strong, some are fading. Water helps them return. He stood quietly, watching. He saw a line moving from her neck to her wrist. It pulsed gently and curved like a ribbon. What does that one mean? He asked. Tiri looked down. That is the memory of my first skywalk. On Mira, we do not walk on land when we come of age. We walk on the light paths in the sky. It is a test of balance and fear. Ravi smiled. Did you fall? Tiri shook her head slowly. No, but I nearly did. I was afraid. My brother reached for me and steadied my step. That memory faded until your water brought it back. Ravi leaned against the wall and looked at her. The bathroom felt like a different place now. Not just a space for cleaning. but something more. A room of truth. He looked into the mirror. The steam was clearing. In the glass, he saw her reflection. Fully now, her face was still the same, but her eyes were glowing softly. The lines across her skin made her look like a living star map. Terry turned and faced him. Her voice was calm. "You do not look away." "I don't want to," Ravi said. She stepped closer, and the light from her skin reflected on the tiles. The glow was not bright, but gentle, like the way sunlight falls through water. Terry raised her hand and pointed to a mark near her shoulder. "This is the last memory I found. It came yesterday." "What is it?" he asked. She paused. "The first time I stepped into your water. I was weak and afraid. I had gone days without clean water. I did not expect kindness from a stranger." Ravi felt his chest tighten. "You're not a stranger now." Terry nodded. "No, not anymore." They stood in silence again. It was not uncomfortable. It was peaceful. Ravi finally said, "Do all Mirani show their memories like this?" Terry shook her head. "Only with deep trust. Our memories are private, but I chose to show you. You gave me safety without asking for anything." He nodded slowly. "I didn't know water could mean so much to us. It is more than life," she said. "It is truth." The steam began to fade completely now. The air cooled. The glowing lines on Terry's skin slowly dimmed and disappeared, like stars fading at dawn. She turned toward the towel rack, picked up a soft white cloth, and wrapped it around her hands. "Will you keep what you saw?" she asked. Ravi nodded. "Yes, I won't speak of it to anyone. I promise." Terry gave a small bow. "Then we share silence." She stepped past him and walked out of the bathroom. Ravi stood for a while, letting the quiet settle. Later, as he cleaned the kitchen, he looked at the bathroom door. It was closed again, but the feeling remained. The bond had grown stronger. Terry was no longer just a roommate. She was someone who trusted him with her memories, and Ravi now understood that even in a place as simple as a bathroom, deep stories could unfold. He opened his tablet that night and typed a few words in his journal. "Today I saw someone's story, not through books or words, but through water. The quietest people often hold the deepest tales. You just have to listen without speaking." Days passed quietly on Delta Nest. The station moved slowly through space. Its lights dim in the evening, bright in the morning. Ravi and Terry continued to live side by side. But now the silence between them felt different. It was no longer distance. It was comfort. Ravi began to notice small changes. Terry was learning, not just about water, but about him. One morning, as Ravi walked into the kitchen, he found Terry standing near the counter. She was holding his mug, the one with the blue ring. Round the top, the mug was warm. She had just poured hot water into it. Ravi raised an eyebrow. "You drink tea now?" Terry looked at the cup. "I watched you. You use this before work. You breathe it. It calms your steps." He smiled. "I drink it for energy, not calm." She tilted her head. "It smells like calm." She handed the cup to him, then stepped aside. Ravi took a sip. The tea was strong, just the way he liked it. He looked at her with surprise. "You made it perfectly." Terry gave a small nod. "I followed your steps." That day, Ravi noticed something else. Her towel was now folded beside his on the rack. Her robe, once hidden in her room, now hung neatly behind the door. She had begun to place her soap bottle next to his. Even though she still used only a few drops at a time, she was mimicking him. Not in a mocking way, but with care. In the evenings, when Ravi played soft music from his tablet, Terry would sometimes stand near the window, listening. He caught her once humming a few notes, her voice quiet like wind through leaves. One night, Ravi was cooking a simple meal, eggs and bread. He turned around and saw Terry watching closely. "You want to try?" he asked. She nodded. He handed her the spoon. She cracked the egg awkwardly, breaking the yolk. Then she added far too much salt. Ravi laughed gently. "Maybe less salt next time." Terry looked at the pan. "Salt is like emotion. You said that once in your call to your brother." Ravi blinked. "You heard that?" "I listened." "I remember." They sat down to eat. The eggs were too salty, but they shared the meal anyway. Ravi thought about how strange and wonderful it was. A few weeks ago, he had been living alone, quiet and tired. Now, his days felt fuller. Not louder, just more alive. Later that night, Ravi was brushing his teeth when he noticed a small flower placed near the mirror. It was not real, but a folded paper flower made from old wrapper sheets. The folds were sharp and clean. It sat there quietly, not asking for attention. Terry passed by the door and paused. "I saw it in one of your books, a symbol of respect. You made this," she nodded. "You shared your space. I shared my hands." Ravi placed the flower on the shelf and smiled. The next day, something even stranger happened. As he walked through the station's lower market, he saw Terry from a distance. She was at a small stall, pointing at a music crystal. The seller, a short man with long arms, looked confused, but handed her the item. Terry placed a few credits on the table and walked away. Ravi followed her quietly. Back at home, she placed the crystal in the player and pressed it. Soft music filled the room. It was the same tune he played during the mornings. "You like this song?" he asked. She replied, "It matches the sound of clean water." Ravi sat on the couch and watched her. She stood near the window again, eyes closed, her body still. The soft lines under her skin glowed faintly, just for a moment, like memory threads stirred by a feeling. He had seen many strange things on Delta Nest. Machines that repaired themselves, creatures that spoke through light, plants that floated in the air. But nothing felt as mysterious or as human as Terry learning to cook eggs or drink tea. Later that week, he opened a message from his brother on Earth. "So, how's the roommate?" Ravi typed back slowly. "She's different, not just her kind. The way she sees things. She watches everything, learns everything. I think she's trying to live like me, even in small ways." His brother replied, "Sounds weird." Ravi smiled and closed the message. That night, Terry knocked on his door. She had never done that before. He opened it and saw her holding two mugs. One was his, the other was a new one. It had a single silver ring at the top. "I made tea," she said. "Yours is the blue one. Mine is the silver." Ravi took the cup. "You're picking favorites now?" Terry nodded. "It helps me feel part of something." They sat near the window and drank in silence. Outside, the stars moved slowly. Inside, something small but strong was growing. Terry looked at him and said, "Your kind holds joy in simple steps. It is rare." Ravi did not reply. He only smiled. Sometimes words were not needed. Sometimes even small habits could become bridges between two very different hearts. The lights in Delta Nest flickered early one morning. A sudden alarm echoed through the halls. Soft but urgent, Ravi woke with a start. Something was wrong. The station had lost power. He threw on his clothes and rushed outside. The usually bright corridors were dim and filled with a strange hum. The water supply was limited. Pipes hissed and sputtered. The usual flow was slower, weaker. Ravi's heart sank. He knew what this meant. No steady water meant trouble for many residents, but especially for Terry. He ran to the apartment and found her sitting quietly on the floor. Her skin looked pale, and the soft glow beneath her surface was dim. "Terry," he said gently, "the water is low. I'm sorry." She nodded slowly. "I feel weak." The threads fade. Ravi looked at her with concern. He knew she needed clean water to keep her strength. Without it, she would lose more of herself. He moved quickly. First, he found emergency water supplies stored in the station's storage rooms. They were small bottles meant for short use in a crisis. He brought several to their apartment. He handed one to Terry. She took it carefully and drank slowly. Her glow brightened just a little. Ravi did not stop there. He spent hours at the repair decks, helping technicians fix the power problem. The station's main systems were old, and the sudden failure was dangerous. While working, he heard rumors from other residents. Some warned him not to get too close to Terry during this time. One evening, a senior officer approached him. "Mr. Ravi," the officer said with a serious tone, Your roommate is not like others. Mixing your resources may cause problems. We advise caution. Ravi looked the officer in the eye. I understand, sir. But she is not just a roommate. She needs help. The officer nodded slowly, but did not argue. Back in the apartment, Terry grew weaker. She rested on the couch, her glowing lines almost gone. Ravi sat beside her and played soft music from his tablet. The room filled with gentle sounds, calming and warm. Tira opened her eyes and looked at him. You gave me life again, she said softly. Your kindness is stronger than water. Ravi smiled. I just did what anyone would do. She reached out her hand, and he took it. For a moment, the glow returned to her skin. Stronger and warmer. Days passed. The repairs finished. Power return. Water flowed freely again through the pipes. Terry stood in the bathroom one morning, using the shower openly. She no longer hid or waited for Ravi to leave. The water made her skin glow softly, the memory threads shining bright. She walked out of the bathroom and placed her own towel beside Ravi's. He looked at her and smiled. You're stronger now. She nodded. Because of you, Ravi realized something important. Sometimes, being human was not just about strength or skill. It was about kindness, about sharing what little you had, even when it was not easy. In that small apartment on Delta Nest, two very different beings had found a way to help each other survive. And in doing so, they had grown closer than either had expected. The days on Delta Nest returned to normal after the power was restored. The quiet hum of the station filled the halls again, and water flowed freely through the pipes. Ravi noticed the change not only in the station, but in himself and in Terry. She was no longer hiding. The glow beneath her skin was steady and bright. She moved with strength and calm. The soft lines of her memory threads shifted slowly, but clearly as if they were telling stories. Only she could hear. One morning, Ravi woke to the sound of water running. He got out of bed and walked to the bathroom door. It was open, steam-filled. The room, and Terry was inside, standing under the shower. She smiled when she saw him. You are awake early, she said softly. I couldn't sleep, Ravi replied. Terry stepped out, wrapped in a clean towel. Her eyes met his, bright and warm. Thank you for letting me use your water. It saved me. Ravi smiled. You don't have to thank me. That's what roommates do. She paused, then said, We are no longer just roommates. Ravi raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Terry placed her towel on the rack next to his. We share more now. Water, meals, stories. I feel connected. Ravi nodded slowly. He realized she was right. Their lives had intertwined in ways he had never imagined. They began to spend more time together, not just passing in the hall or sharing quiet moments, but talking, laughing, and learning from each other. Tira asked about Earth and humans. Ravi told her about his childhood, about the sky full of blue and green forests. She listened with wide eyes. Ravi asked her about Mira, her home planet. She told him about the soft light paths in the sky, the sacred lakes, and the quiet songs her people sang. One evening, they sat near the window, watching the stars. Ravi said, I never thought a shower could bring two worlds closer. Terry smiled. It is not the shower. It is what we share in it. They laughed together, the sound. Warm and new. The days passed. The small apartment grew full of memories. A paper flower by the sink, a music crystal playing soft tunes, 2 mugs, one blue, one silver, resting side by side. One day, Ravi asked, So, are we friends now? Terry looked at him, eyes shining. Yes, and more. Ravi smiled. More. She nodded. More than roommates, more than strangers. Ravi reached out and took her hand. The glow beneath her skin shimmered softly. He whispered, I'm glad you came here. Terry squeezed his hand. And I'm glad I found you. They stood together, two beings from different worlds, connected by simple acts and quiet trust. Ravi thought of the first day she arrived, the silence, the mystery, the strange shower routine. Now, he understood. Being human was not about strength alone. It was about letting someone in quietly, kindly, honestly, and sometimes that was the greatest strength of all.